Hi and welcome back. I'm Holly and you're watching 𝐊𝐚ₐ TV live from Sydney. This is the stocks in action. We'll be looking at a few recent updates from ASX listed companies along with a quick glance at developments across equity and commodity markets. So stick with us. The first stock under the spotlight today is turning out to be good news for sufferers of Alzheimer's. Shares of the ASX listed biotech firm 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞 Medical were trading up by more than 8% after it announced today that it had enrolled the first patient in Part A of its two-part 𝐊𝐴NIMA trial, which targets patients with mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's disease. This follows 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞 receiving ethics approval from the Bellberry Human Research Ethics Committee to start the 𝐊𝐴NIMA Part A study, which was announced on the 2nd of June. Part A is being conducted at a 4-patient outsite in Australia and will enroll 105 older healthy volunteers aged 50 to 80 years old in a dose-ranging study to confirm the minimum effective dose. The study will determine the safety and efficacy of a 5 mg and 10 mg 𝐊𝐴NIMA dose on cognition. That is the ability to remember and think for over 6 weeks. The trial will utilize an iPad testing method with the sensitive endpoints of the Cogstate neurological test battery, incorporating the digit symbol substitution test, a previously FDA-approved endpoint for cognition. So fingers crossed for that medical breakthrough. And onto software now. Trading up by more than 7% is Schroll Group, the global software as a service provider to educate professionals and institutions. It reported today that it had released its Schroll Connect 3.0. Currently, the first stage of upgraded Connect 3.0 has been released. Schroll Connect is an online software as a service platform enabling international schools to streamline teacher recruitment and candidate management activities. It also provides interview scheduling, calendar integration, DocuSign integration, and customizable email management as enhancements. The company has started receiving upgraded customer contracts and is expanding its sales pipeline. It's currently focused on growing sales through a 3-phase growth strategy, including direct sales, cross-upsell opportunities, and Feria co-marketing. Plus, Schroll Group is expected to continue investment in the sales team to drive growth. Another stock making headlines is Spark Infrastructure, the utilities company. Shares of Spark were trading up by more than 7% after it confirmed receiving a revised takeover bid worth $2.80 a share from a consortium led by the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan Board and KKR. The bid is at 12.9% premium to its Wednesday close price, with the proposal being subject to several preconditions, including due diligence, Foreign Investment Review Board approval, and a unanimous recommendation by the Spark Infrastructure Board, as well as approval of the OTPP Investment Committee and Board and the KKR Infrastructure Investment Committee. Earlier, Spark had turned down a $2.70 share bid by the same consortium, saying it undervalued the company and was not at a level at which the company prepared to grant access to due diligence. And now it is time for a short break, but stay tuned, I'll be right back with more stock market updates.
Hi, this is Andy Liu broadcasting from 𝐊𝐚ₐ Media Studio in Australia, and I'll be hosting the new 𝐊𝐚ₐ Wellness Show. The half-hour show will cover topics from how wellness as a concept has become even more significant during COVID, to how becoming vegan may improve your health, and much more. We are excited to showcase our live streaming show to our audience of millions overseas and in Australia. Tune in to 𝐊𝐚ₐ TV and join me.
Hello, I'm Holly, your host live from 𝐊𝐴𝐴 Studio, and you're watching the Stocks in Action. You're just in time to get the latest from Woodside Petroleum, whose share price was trading low after reporting an increase in revenue despite a production dip. Revenue of the leading Australian petroleum exploration and production company was rescued by a robust oil price. It increased by 15% in the second quarter from the March quarter to $1.3 billion, despite a fall in production. The quarterly sales revenue marks a leap of 2/3 from the second quarter last year. The 22.7 million barrels of oil produced in the most recent quarter marks a 4% drop from the first 3 months of the year and a 12% fall from the previous corresponding period. Woodside Acting Chief Executive Meg O'Neill said that the revenue from oil sales during the period was higher than the first quarter, added by an above-market average realized price of $75 a barrel, while revenue from LNG sales climbed 14%. She also said that lower oil production due to scheduled maintenance activities and adverse weather impacts was partly offset by a strong quarterly performance at Pluto, which achieved 97% reliability. And maybe it's time to dust off that passport because Sydney Airport is trading in the green. The company shared that the $22 billion takeover bid from a collection of institutional investors is not in the interests of security holders. According to the airport, the deal announced on the 5th of July from a group led by IFM Investors, the fund manager part owned by super funds, undervalues one of Australia's marquee infrastructure assets. Sydney Airport highlighted that the indicative price is below where the security price traded before the pandemic. The company believes they're strongly positioned to deliver growth as vaccination rates increase and we move into the post-pandemic recovery period. And now, time for another short break, but stay tuned, I'll be right back with more trending updates for the Australian market. Tune in to stay updated while on the move.
We will tell you where the crypto craze has reached,
where the property market is headed next,
what the world is doing to become more environmentally friendly.
Apart from tracking the daily market charter.
Be on top of the latest news and announcements
with 𝐊𝐴𝐴 TV. Welcome back, I'm Holly, your host live from 𝐊𝐴𝐴 Studio, and you're watching the Stocks in Action. Before wrapping up, let's quickly glimpse through developments across equity and commodity markets. First, with the ASX 200 performance. On Thursday, the ASX 200 opened lower as global stocks ended flat overnight. Before the mid-market trading, the ASX 200 was trading 0.10% up. 𝐷𝐞, however, is down 4.10%, while Afterpay is trading down by 3.70%. Sectors are mixed today, along with the S&P ASX 200 index. 4 sectors are higher and 7 are lower. Utilities is the best performing sector, while healthcare has been trading lower. On that note, let's quickly glance through some global developments and their effect on the global market movements. Global stocks ended flat overnight as US Fed Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell eased concerns by saying that a recent inflation surge would soon fade. The S&P 500 was up 0.12%, while the Dow Jones rose 0.13%. The Nasdaq Composite fell 0.22%, and the small cap Russell 2000 was down 1.63%. The 10-year benchmark US bond yields fell 6 basis points on Wednesday to 1.356%. In the crypto world, Coinbase Global declined 4.19%, while Bitcoin gained 0.31% and Ethereum gained 1.20%. On to commodities now, and gold jumped on Wednesday after Powell's comments. Spot gold rose about 1%, while US gold futures settled 0.8% higher. The most traded September iron ore on China's Dalian Commodity Exchange ended daytime trade 0.8% higher. The 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange CMCU3 had slipped 0.8%, the third straight day of losses. And lastly, on the global development front, crude oil prices fell over 2% in the overnight trade after US data revealed that demand weakened a bit in the most recent week. The fall of prices was also triggered by a compromise on supply reached by the major global oil producers. Brent crude settled down $1.73 a barrel, or 2.26%, while West Texas Intermediate was off by $2.12 US. At 10:19 a.m. on Thursday, September the 15th, crude oil prices traded 0.28% down, whereas August delivery WTI crude oil futures traded 0.56% down. And we know geopolitical tensions aren't a good sign for supply, so thankfully the spat between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates came to an end. Both the countries came to a compromise that may unlock an OPEC Plus deal to boost global crude oil supply amid strong energy demand. Crude oil inventories have continued to fall in their 8th consecutive week, as per the data released by the U.S. Energy Information Administration. That being said, however, a significant decline in diesel and gasoline demand has weighed on oil prices. Meanwhile, the revival of the 2015 U.S.-Iran nuclear deal is also expected to increase the potential supply glut. However, the timing of the execution of the deal is still in question, so that is definitely worth keeping an eye on. Alright then, that is just about all for now, but stay tuned with 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV for more live market updates. We'll be back with more news on markets, the economy, and diverse themes and sectors. Holly Shields signing off.